Well, I know y'all can see here, but this is how it's been as of late this week. There's a big old cat outside, and it's been keeping Moses inside. So Moses likes to sit up here in my lap, and he either likes to sit on the computer or he sits right there in my lap where he can't, you see him. Um, I want to say that it is a good day for crime fighters today. Uh, as the title says, Suzanne Morphew's remains have been found in Morphew, his house lived. Well, it was identified through DNA today. Apparently, the body had the remains had been found earlier this month, uh, but identified through DNA today. Now, let me say this: isn't it kind of funny? Yeah, it is glitching a little bit. I apologize, but I can't tell what's going on outside. It's very dark out there, and I'm hoping another vehicle's not parked right in front of my Starling. Um, they were out there. FBI and Colorado Bureau of Investigation were out there looking for something else. Now, that may just be an excuse. Uh, that I talked to Tony a few minutes ago, and we kind of gathered it. Maybe they had been watching, or maybe they had been put a tracker on his car, and maybe this was an area that he was go back and visit where that he uh, buried the body. I'm just saying if we have to say if he's guilty or if he is if he's a suspect, then and I believe with him charging him once that he's going to be a suspect. Um, I some reason led them out there, and here's the thing: if it's true, and he is, uh, if it's true, and they were out there for something, then that might indicate that there's going to be more than one remains found out there. And oh boy, there's something else. You could have it. Uh, you that they were out there. I see somebody said that it was remains were found uh, uh, the 22nd of this month, and it's the 27th. Normally, DNA. I know they had copies of DNA, as CBI did, but that's pretty quick to get DNA back. So that tells me that they were kind of looking for. They may have been looking for that. But yeah, I agree with you. Justice is probably coming very soon in this case. Um, the DA is not making a statement today, and neither is CBI, according to the news. Yes, it's 45 minutes south of, actually from Maysville, where the house is. Barry's house was. I've got a couple news videos here. Let's play one and see what they're saying on that. If for people that don't, have not found this out, I hope you don't mind Moses sitting here. He's got to sit in my lap for some reason. He's been very close to me today.
Jeremy Hubbard in the Fox 31 News studio. We'll get back to Judge Judy in just a moment. Wanted to bring you this commercial break to give you some breaking developments in a 3.5-year-old Colorado mystery that appears to have some heartbreaking answers this afternoon. The remains of a missing Chaffee County mother of two, Suzanne Morphew, have been discovered and positively identified by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. Reading now directly from the CBI, they tell us that agents were conducting a search near the town of Moffett last Friday when they discovered human remains, and earlier today the El Paso County coroner positively identified those remains as those of Suzanne Morphew, the missing 49-year-old mother of two, last seen going on a bike ride on Mother's Day 2020. Again, investigators searching in that area near Moffett when they discovered this, and they say the search was unrelated to the Suzanne Morphew investigation. They also tell us no arrests have been made since those remains were located. The sheriff down in Chaffee County telling us that this case has garnered national attention all around the world, really, and it's touched the community and the sheriff's office deeply. We've never stopped the pursuit of justice. They also say that there will be no news conference or media interviews related to the new developments in this case. This is just part of their investigation. They are searching for more answers. So are we, of course. We have crews en route right now to the area of Salida and Moffett, and we'll have the latest for you coming up on Fox 31 News at 4, just about 40 minutes from now, and at kdvr.com. We'll see you then.
And we'll probably hear more from the news people out there than we will from police for a while, because if they plan on recharging Barry, they will, they would take some, hopefully they'll gather some evidence from the remains. If they'll look for blunt force trauma to the skull, and they'll look for the bones, if the remains, I'm hoping the remains were intact. In other words, the skeletal remains were intact, that they didn't, they hadn't been scattered by animals. But if the bones are intact, then they'll be able to tell pretty quickly if she had broken ribs, broken limbs, broken back, skull fractures, various stuff like that. And, the person that said that she was going to, Barry reported her on a bike ride. That's where it is. One more news report here, and I thought they captured Suzanne. Really, really pretty picture here of Suzanne, and we got to think about this: is even though we knew all along that she was deceased, it is heartbreaking to find actually that they find a body. Someone said here let's see, I heard that here Tommy was watching another channel when the alert popped up. Yeah, there had been an arrow thing or a bullet. Could be an arrow thing or a bullet. It could be. They'll find out, though. They can tell if a bullet entered the body. I can tell you that right now.
New developments in a high-profile case of a missing Colorado woman. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation saying remains found in Saguache County have now been positively identified as Suzanne Morphew. She's the Chaffee County mother of two who was reported missing on Mother's Day back in 2020.
Yeah, and we are told that investigators were searching in the area of Moffett in Saguache County. And we know this investigation has been going on for about 3.5 years now in her disappearance. Fox 31's Kim Posey is on it following this in studio. Kim, this is a long time coming. A lot of people waiting for this.
Yeah, a long 3 years for the Morphew family and for that community. Now, as you remember, Suzanne Morphew was reported missing by her husband, Barry, back on Mother's Day of 2020. Now, he said that she had gone for a mountain bike ride and then she never came back. But I can tell you that he actually was accused in her death, but then those charges were dropped back in 2021. We've never really known what happened to her until today. Now, CBI did have investigators in this area. They say they were there for an unrelated case and that they did come across these remains. They are not offering any official press conferences right now, and we have not heard heard from Barry Morphew himself, but we are working to get those interviews. What happens now? The DA has not made a statement since this news broke about an hour ago, and neither has Barry Morphew, but we will keep you updated on air and online. Kim Posey, Fox 31.
All right, our thanks to Kim. We do have crews spread out heading to Salida right now. We'll have much more information tonight, and we're going to continue to follow this right here on Fox 31. You can download our free Fox 31 News app for the very latest.
Yeah, and this is a map here showing through their Moffett, but it could be anywhere in this area. They're not saying exactly that's from the house in Maysville, around the where the house was. It's generally Maysville. 44 miles, I think, is what Google Maps said. They're not saying exactly where they found, because they don't want people going out there. As many people that are interested in this case, if they said we found her at these coordinates, then you would have people going out there and just totally destroying any possibility of it being a crime scene. I suspect that the FBI has already went out there and sifted all the dirt in that area, to see if they had any types of coin or anything that they can recover DNA from or prints off of. And they may, I'm sure they went completely over that burial site. And I'm wondering, I hope that we're going to find out if how deep the grave was, if it was a grave. Hello, Gail. Um, if how deep the grave was, if it was a grave, if it was on how if she was dressed in clothing that helped would help them possibly get touch DNA off of, or blood DNA off of, or any type of weapon that could have been used. There's such a whole lot of stuff that I'm sure probably that they've sent, if she had clothes on, they've sent her clothes to the Quantico to go over to see if they can find any DNA on the clothing. And you think, well, it's been 3 years laying out in the weather. They can find it. Believe me, especially if it had been buried and protected by the soil, or that they had, if someone had put their hand inside of their or clothing in some way. Just because it's been that long doesn't mean that they can't find it. There's been, I think, if I'm thinking right, the BTA, by torture kill, the BTK killer, they found blood or found some type of DNA on clothing that had, like, you know, years old. So, and I think, haven't they in the past? I think we read somewhere that actual mummies that have been buried in these tombs and underground that had been as much as 1,000 years old, they found DNA in on them. So I'm not doubting anything that Quantico can do. They are very, very good. Yeah, Dina says, what if they burn the body? Yes, but if they burn the body, they wouldn't have been able to get DNA. I'm sure probably they're looking at a skeleton. That's how they got DNA, because they pull DNA from the bone marrow inside the bone. So that's where they get the DNA from, I'm pretty sure. Or possibly the teeth. If they had teeth left in the skull, they would pull DNA from that. Um, they're not going to just pull it from outside the body. So that doesn't indicate anything that they had a burnt body. But 44 miles away to the south, you think, well, he didn't have any type of stuff on his car or tracks, or something where anything could happen. Um, Somebody else could be involved in this. Another person could be involved in it. Could have taken the body. The body could have been hidden somewhere, and after 3 or 4 days, uh, the body is then relocated to another area. Um, there's just a lot of what ifs, but I'm just wondering and that is suspecting if uh, they had put a tracker on his car. Maybe found he went down in that area, or we have to always say, or is somebody else involved? You have to go that somebody could be tied to Morphew. They could be not tied to Morphew. We don't know, but they got the DNA pretty quick. In fact, real quick. So to me, they may have had somebody. Either they had some evidence to lead them in that area, find the body, run the DNA, and came up with it. Here's another thing though. The biggest thing I say about this is, and this could be a ruse, it could not, but they said they were in that area looking for involved in another case. If that is it, then possibility that person involved in the other case is guilty of Suzanne's murder. Although we pretty much feel we know who the violator is, so if there's another case in that area, maybe this thing. I don't know if somebody's there in front of my Starlink. That's not. It's on the ground stand, so it's in and out a little bit. Um, Somebody said there should be DNA all over her body. Not necessarily. Like I said, your DNA is probably pulled from bone marrow, or it's pulled from teeth. Underneath her teeth or inside of her tooth would have the DNA also. Drilling into her tooth, and they would be able to recover DNA. So, yeah, I really did think that she would never. I thought maybe they would find her in the woods somewhere by a hunter or something, but this is incredible that they're able to find it. And we don't know; it may have been in the woods, but but CBI was in that area anyway, looking for what they call another case. We don't know, but I bet somebody's sweating it. Her killer's sweating it tonight. I bet, because it's hard to prosecute somebody without a body, but now they got a body. It makes it a whole lot easier, a whole lot. Somebody asked me something there, but I apologize. This thing is so hard to. I'm getting used to it, but this thing is hard to pull up and down. Can you ask me that again? Somebody asked me something. Somebody, Tiffany, what did you say? Because I missed your comment there. Exactly my point, Tiffany. Exactly my point. What or beach bum? What were y'all talking about? I know that they're probably guarding him to keep him from leaving. But listen, I heard somebody said, "Oh well, they probably watch him so he doesn't go to Mexico." Mexico is probably the last place he needs to go to, because they will find you if you're in Mexico. They just found that guy that was responsible for having all that fentanyl in that daycare. They found him in Mexico pretty quick. So Mexico is not a safe haven for anybody like it used to be in the cowboy days. They would just cross the Rio Grande and they were home free. It's not that way anymore in Mexico. I would suspect somebody go to Canada or South America, but not Mexico. Uh, Maddie asked if it was a good sign to identify her so quickly. Yes, because that means to me they had everything set up, ready to go. Um, you know, out there, uh, everything was ready to go for a quick identification. You know, that was that identification is astronomically quick. You have to have a lab that's ready to go because you don't understand DNA. There's so much DNA being used in crime solving now that it might be average 6 months. What I think is what if I were to be in law enforcement right now, not retired, and I ran up on a rape case, and say I had DNA from a rape case, and I ran it through CODIS. Um, if you have it through CODIS, maybe it would come up quicker. Uh, but a lot of times, just getting the DNA identified and cataloged, it takes about 6 months. But apparently, when they pulled the DNA out, they had cataloged it fairly quick. They put it into CODIS, and uh, under CODIS, they may have a family member's DNA in there to match, or they may have had her DNA from another thing. They probably pulled her DNA from something in the house, or something, or a toothbrush or a hairbrush, and they went ahead and put it in there. And then when you run it through CODIS, it comes up a match. But just just pulling the DNA from the bones, or pulling the DNA from the teeth, and getting it ready to submit, to me would take longer than 5 days. That to me, that's unbelievable. Yeah, well, some rape cases. I don't know what. I think it varies by state on how long it takes for people. You know, the idea of it is, it's not the identification of DNA doesn't take that long. If you have if you can pull out, say, from, you drill the teeth and you get DNA, and then you take it, and they have to get it into a form where they can put it in CODIS, and CODIS has all the DNA in there that's identifiable. So if you get DNA, you recover the on the 20. I just don't see how they could do it that fast. I'll be honest with you, because they recover the body on one day, the 22nd. It might take 2 to 3 weeks for them to get that DNA out and get it on a slide, or whatever it means it takes to put it into CODIS. So, it sounds like to me they were ready for it. You know, um, yeah, but they didn't say, Laura Ann. They didn't say it was dental things that positively identified her. They said it was DNA. So, if it was just dental records, that might they surely they would have just said it. She was identified by dental records. That's easy enough. But no, they said she was identified by DNA. So that pretty much, I don't think they would have put one and then done the other. With DNA, to me, I just don't understand how they could do it that fast. I'll be honest with you. Saying to me, yes, but have you ever been to a criminal lab, a criminal forensic lab? I've been over to the lab transferring evidence from our police department to the lab, and often I would go back into the lab, and they would tell me, at one time I remember they were running 18 months behind on simple marijuana or cocaine tests. And one of the lab techs showed me They took cocaine, they put it in this machine, a spectral machine, and it ran out and said, yes, this is cocaine, and total percentage. They printed out a sheet. She said, okay, now this sheet will have to be, and it's not just a matter of putting it in the file. They got to type out a thing. And so it takes a lot and lot of time. Um, I know the Alabama lab in Mobile was running 18 months out on just getting drug reports, and DNA was a lot further than that. So this I have a really feeling that they knew when they went there and found that gravesite that that was her. They had the evidence. They were tracking maybe the suspect. They got maybe they had an informant that that could be a very strong possibility. They had an informant that led them to the body, and they said, okay, we need to get this now. Still, with all of that, I have a very bad, I just do not understand how they can get the DNA verification since the 22nd. I do not you know see it. Private lab in Utah can do DNA 24 hours. Yes, but they're not going to do a private lab. Law enforcement has got to have it done through the state forensic lab or a lab in Quantico, because private labs are not certified through the state, and can, if they make a mistake, if if they've ever made a mistake in a private lab, you just, what I mean, I just don't believe that they would use a private lab. I really don't. Um, I have seen them, you know. If sometimes I remember we recovered something. It was a white powdery substance. We wasn't sure what it was, and we were trying to find out if we had an influx of a certain drug into our area. So I didn't have a case with it, but I had the drugs. So I brought it to the lab. Normally, they do not run anything unless there's a case number attached to it as far as we have a suspect. That's just policy. But because we were trying to find out if we had a certain drug as an influence in our area, one of the lab techs walked over and we put it under a spectrogram or whatever. I can't remember exactly what the machine was called. It was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. They ran it through there and they told me it's not this, and this is possibly, we can run further tests, but it looks like it's not going to be controlled substance. So we just blew that off. But, you know, they can do that. But now, if they had a case where somebody was under possession for it, it would have took longer, because they would have had to wrote a report, no 9 yards. They just basically looked under the microscope and made a determination that it was not any drug that we knew of at that point. Um, so it makes me think that they were set on the go. Maybe they had an informant that they believed was telling them the truth where the body was. He went directly out there, found it, pulled DNA from teeth, bone, whatever, and then verified identity through DNA. And, maybe a way for them to do it. I'm just simply saying it's super, super fast for them to do it, at least that way. And, maybe that they're not telling us totally the truth, that it was done in maybe a couple of months and not just basically 5 days, what it amounts to, the 22nd through the 27th. Beachbum, I think that they'll have to do a lot more investigation to find out if one, the manner of death, uh, you know if they if they should find let's just, for instance, say we got to figure out to who led them to the body. If they had a tracker on somebody's car and found out that they went out there several times near where the burial ground was and found the body, then that might be evidence. If they have an informant that came to them and said, look, you know, maybe this informant was with a person then when they buried the body, but they figure, hey, it's getting too close, um, you know, and they give evidence to the fact that she was at this location, buried at this location, then, you know, that could lead on to a faster. Uh, but right now, it's the DA has got the ball in their court. Is that um, you know, they're not they don't need to be in a hurry about this. They need to do everything by the book. Um, they found a hole searching for other missing women. Well, you know, if Maui, if that's the way it is, if they were out there searching for other missing women, that could be a telltale sign of a dumping ground. You know, look at what the Long Island serial killer. You know, he uh, he dumped bodies out in there, and he went back and revisited those bodies because they, not necessarily to do anything to the body itself, but to relive the experience of the murders. So you know, I don't know exactly how, but it just tells me something when you can run DNA that quickly and find out that quickly. Because you got to understand, and I said this a minute ago, and maybe it didn't make perfectly sense to you, but gathering the DNA from the time you have to drill and get them the DNA from the teeth or from the bone marrow, at that point, gathering it out, and you see them in the labs, you know, they got their tubes out there and they put them in to get the DNA out. That takes the most time right there. And then putting it in CODIS, that doesn't take that much time. It may take a while to run through CODIS, but still, just getting it from out of the body, the bones, teeth, and everything, to or hair, if it had any hair left, or anything they found in the grave, to the point of being able to test it is the big thing. You know, that's the big thing. It's from that point to that point. And 5 days is not even five. They announced today, you figure 4 days, or the day they found it on the 22nd. You're looking at 3 or 4 days is unheard of. That's all I'm saying. Um, okay, beach bum, that's good. I think too that it depends on what DA would be. You know, sure, the murder, if it happened in this, we're not sure where it happened at. They may find out that the murder of her didn't happen there. It may have happened in this other county where the body was found. But you know, he could be charged state wise, or he could be charged federally if there's, you know, some way, you know, some means to be a part of the federal crime. They could charge him with violation of civil rights, you know, killing somebody do that. But normally, um, they don't have that. Thank you. This is my Dog Days shirt. Dina bought it for me. It says Dog Days underneath. My dog's laying here beside me, Maggie. She's dreaming a little bit. She's been jumping and moving her legs and everything. Um, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I think that, but we talked about that, Maui. They didn't it wasn't. I mean, if I thought her dental records, were she was identified by her dental records, okay, they would have said that. We're not sure. One, yeah, whose dog? Yeah, Dina's dog. We're not sure, one, if the body was intact. We're not sure if the bones were spread or by animals. The body was spread by bones and by animals. I would hate to think, even it's bad enough from somebody killing somebody, but I would hate to think they left the body on top of the ground for the animals to um, desecrate and spread the bones around everywhere. I would hate to think that. Uh, well, somebody asked there if the tranquilizer meds could be found in the bone marrow. And I asked Tony that because, Tony is a paramedic and he actually teaches paramedics in a paramedic environment. He teaches other them certified. And he's, in fact, is in a class at the University of Alabama right now. There's thinking about infant death syndrome and some of the ways to identify uh, infant homicide death, and he's going to teach that actually to paramedics where he does at a university there down south. He said that that if they'd shot her with a dart, that the bone marrow probably would not have that in the bone marrow wouldn't have that liquid, and I knew this also, that the poison or the stuff that makes you uh, incapacitates you uh, goes to the liver, and the liver actually is the thing in the body that cleans the blood. So it actually probably, if she had died right away and they could have found her body with her organs intact, then the liver would, they could test the liver and find out if she had anything from the this tranquilizer dart in her liver. But otherwise, Tony said no. He said he couldn't see it being in her bone marrow at all. Um, you know, if it's in her blood, it might be in her blood, but not really in her bone marrow. And so, you know, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff they can gather from the bone marrow, and I'm sure that they will do that. That, but I'd like to know. I hope in the next few days that we will learn through the press and through police department. Maybe they will release a statement if it was a shallow grave, if it was a deep grave. Deep grave would tell me that they had information. That mean, they would go before they dig, they would have an informant. Uh, if it was on a mountainside, if it would look like it was dug with a piece of equipment, there's a whole lot of things in my mind that are swirling on uh, how they found it. I did read this earlier. Um, Specific information about the location and the state of the remains are being withheld at this time. Part of the CBA, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, release reads, no arrests have been made since the remains were located. Updates will be provided as information becomes available during the ongoing investigation. Family notification has been made following the formal identification of Susan Morphew. Uh, I didn't read that, which said that AK is in for a CAT scan. I hope he's okay. Um, the public is still asked to report any information they may have tied to the Susan Morphew by calling the number. Um, while the case has my glasses. Stop the investigation, continue to follow up the lead's pursuit of justice for Suzanne. Her remains were located in the 12th Judicial District, and District Attorney Ann Kelly has been notified, according to CBI. So, that's going to make it a little bit different too. Is you got two different counties that the body was found in one county and whatever's going on in the other county. Um, yeah, we all keep AK in your prayers. I don't know what's been going on with him. I haven't talked to him in a while. Somebody said he is having a CAT scan done, so we'll just keep him in your prayers. Um, but I don't. If things change before Thursday, if we hear any more on Thursday, we anticipate being on line Thursday night if we don't have anything that jumps out in our way. Um, but we'll keep our head to the ground on this, and hopefully we'll have some better information on Thursday. And if anybody has got any information on AK, if you could let us know about that. And so I can, I was hoping that he would be on tonight and we would find out maybe what he knew about the situation. But y'all just keep AK in your prayers that everything works out for him. Uh, and we will see you back here on Thursday. And hopefully we'll have some more information. Anything you want to send me, email or anything, that's fine. If you got did y'all get a notification on the missing live stream website? You're not going to get one on the other website because um, we didn't come out there. Um, Beach Bum, I surely appreciate you messaging us about this uh, because I was doing something totally different, and we have so many irons in the fire over here near Medina's daddy's house that we've been busier. It's like we've been, like I say, a three-legged dog. We've been real busy. So if you can just let us know anytime, it doesn't hurt my feelings if you send me a message, and I really appreciate Beach Bum you getting us this out there. Really great news, sure is. Hate that she's deceased, but I don't think it's a big surprise for everyone, any of us here. Okay, so we'll see you back Thursday night unless something else, and I'll post it online. But say a prayer for AK too, and we hope everything comes out with him. And we will see you later. Y'all have a great night.